Town in the crossfire. In part 2 of our 3-part series, we'll take a closer look at the victims and survivors of the city's violent street gangs. Could a massive dam project in the Democratic Republic of Congo spur economic growth throughout the continent? And with a mighty roar, the Falcon Heavy launches billionaire Elon Musk's SpaceX ambitions into orbit. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. Now, Kenya's political turbulence has taken a new international twist. Kenyan lawyer Miguna, who was expected to be charged with treason over the symbolic presidential inauguration of opposition leader Raila Odinga, was deported late Tuesday. Miguna said in a statement Wednesday that he was forcefully placed on a KLM flight from Nairobi to Amsterdam. The Kenyan government argued it was legal to expel him because he had lost his citizenship under a now defunct law. Miguna was arrested last Friday in a dawn raid on his home. He was granted bail of about $500, but he remained in police custody with his whereabouts unknown until he appeared in court on Tuesday. High Court Judge Luka Kimaru ordered that all proceedings against Miguna be stopped until police brought him to a Nairobi court on Wednesday. However, when court opened, the government produced a letter from the Interior Ministry proclaiming Miguna a prohibited immigrant. The grounds were not clear, but a later statement from the Interior Ministry says Miguna had been illegally issued with a Kenyan passport. Dual citizenship is, however, legal in Kenya. Now, South Africa's African National Congress Party leader Cyril Ramaphosa said on Wednesday he is holding direct talks with President Jacob Zuma over a transition and matters relating to Zuma's position as president of the country. Zuma, in power since 2009 and beset by corruption allegations, has been in a weakened position since Deputy President Ramaphosa replaced him as African National Congress leader in December. Ramaphosa has talked of a transition of power since he took over as leader of the ANC. In a statement, Ramaphosa said he and Zuma hope to conclude their discussions and report back to the country in coming days, adding the process was an opportunity to conclude the matter without causing discord or division in the country. Now today, in part 2 of our 3-part series about gang violence in Cape Town, South Africa, we'll take a look at the victims and survivors. Africa 54's Haiti Adams Fitzpatrick joins us now with details. Haiti.
Thank you very much, Vincent. South Africa is one of the few countries that enshrine special protections for children's rights in the Constitution. But on the Cape Flats, a sprawling ghetto built for people of color during apartheid, those words ring hollow. I'm going to take you inside one of the most dangerous neighborhoods in the world, where residents say warring gangs are killing their children.
14-year-old Zinedine Carlton was struck by a stray bullet near his Hanover Park home.
Call for the army to be deployed in the most dangerous neighborhoods in Cape Town. In the past week alone, 18 people are reported to have been killed in gang violence in Manin.
The daily news of deadly gang violence takes Anthea Smith back to the Friday night her 15-year-old son got caught in a drive-by shooting.
When I saw my child just lying there, I nearly lost my mind. He had done nothing wrong. I picked up his body, loaded him into a car, and took him to the hospital.
The shooting left Keegan brain dead.
Doctors said there was nothing more they could do for him. Parts of his brain were missing. So I had to turn the machines off. I'm too afraid to leave my house. You just never know when they'll show up with their guns and start shooting again.
The Cape Flats is caught in a vortex of violence. Rival street gangs wage round-the-clock gun battles over drug turf. bullets tear through homes, playgrounds, and the bodies of children. Some have become famous, their faces in newspapers and on social media, because they're dead. Funerals for the fallen are packed to capacity. Community solidarity with the family of the latest victim, 14-year-old Zinedine Pelton, killed in gang crossfire. Outside, Fatima Blankenberg circulates a petition asking the mayor and President Jacob Zuma's government to intervene.
We are fed up with these gangs. We want the government to come in and put a stop to it.
I lost my son 4 years back. He was gunned down 2 doors away from my house. He was no gangster. We still don't know the reason why he was shot. But the perpetrator got 33 years for killing my son.
Mary Claassen is part of a support group helping grieving mothers find comfort and closure.
I've got justice, and I want justice for each mother that lost a son, or even the daughter.
At a children's hospital across town, one mother wants more than justice. She's hoping for a miracle. Melitha Telmarks's 5-year-old daughter, Ashlyn, was caught in a gang shootout on the playground. The bullet damaged Ashlyn's spine, bladder, colon, kidney and lung, exiting through her abdomen, leaving her paralyzed.
Her kidney was sticking out of her body. Doctors told me there was poison on the bullet. That's what these gangs do now. They spray their bullets with insecticide. They want their victims to suffer before they die. So my child suffered.
Telmark says life in Hanover Park is hell.
I will never take my daughter back to Hanover Park. We would rather sleep on the streets. That is no place for a human being, much less a child.
The ordeal has left Telmarks without a job or a home, but she's grateful her daughter survived. Because there are so many who live with unimaginable loss and grief. This is the reality of families living through Cape Town's gang wars. Sometimes a mother's prayer is answered. After months in a wheelchair, Ashlyn is learning to walk again.
And Vincent, tomorrow we'll look at the efforts to curb gang violence on the Cape Flats and how American technology is changing the way South African police are tackling the problem.
And indeed, we hope it comes to a stop. Now, to the north of the continent, a political coalition, including several high-profile Egyptians, recently criticized President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi for a speech in which he warned off anyone seeking to challenge his rule amid growing calls for a boycott of the presidential elections. Last week, Sisi said additional steps would be taken against anyone looking to upset Egypt's security. The Washington-based program on Middle East democracy, POMID, is accusing President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi of purging potential candidates in the run-up to the presidential elections in March. Speaking on VOA's Press Conference USA, Amy Hawthorne, Deputy Director of Research at POMID, explained the accusation against Sisi.
Well, it's remarkable. President Sisi has decided that he wants to hold an election in March to be reelected. Some dictators don't bother to hold an election, or they do what Mubarak used to do, which is hold a referendum. Yes, no, me, no one else. Sisi has decided he wants to have an election, and he said that it should be competitive and Egyptians should have choices. So lo and behold, 6 different candidates came forward to challenge him to run as his competitor in the election, which is allowed in the Egyptian political system since 2004.
Well, that was Amy Hawthorne, Deputy Director of Research at the Program on the Middle East Democracy. Further south again, Zimbabwe opposition leader Morgan Tsvangirai has named Nelson Chamisa the acting president of the Movement for Democratic Change, effective on Wednesday. The party says that Chamisa, one of three party vice presidents, will serve as president until Tsvangirai returns from receiving cancer treatment in neighboring South Africa. The 65-year MDC leader has been in and out of hospital since revealing last June that he has colon cancer. There are rumors that Tsvangirai is gravely ill and might not survive, but he has disputed those reports on his Twitter feed. Tsvangirai formed the MDC in 1999 to challenge President Robert Mugabe, who was forced out of office last November after military uprising ended his 37-year hold on power. Now, the 28-member European Union faces a mountain of pressures, including slow economic growth, persistent high unemployment, escalating populism, a migrant wave, the threat of terrorism, and a resurgent Russia. Amid these difficulties, the future shape and character of the EU is being questioned. VOA's Gela De Franceschi probes the topic with three veteran observers of all things Europe.
European policymakers and analysts often compare the European integration project to a bicycle that must keep going forward to avoid falling over. Some experts say the EU will pedal along. Others worry the European bicycle seems increasingly wobbly. Britain's vote to leave the bloc, attempts to reassert national sovereignty by Poland and Hungary, the poorest election showing since 1945 by German Chancellor Angela Merkel's conservative bloc, and the far-right surge in her country are fueled by fears that too much national sovereignty has been relinquished to Brussels.
Are we witnessing the beginning of the end of the European project and a return to a Europe of individual nation-states practicing hard sovereignty with closed borders?
According to Gedmin, the EU's founding concept of political and economic cooperation, which has given the Europeans decades of peace and prosperity, is being swiftly undone.
It's a number of things coming online all at once. Globalization, I'd like to suggest. Developments in technology, I'd like to suggest. The refugee crisis, I'd like to suggest. Russian revanchism, Brexit, American retrenchment.
The ruling elites are also seen as incompetent or unwilling to solve ordinary people's problems.
The discontent that has emerged from those people who no longer feel that they are living the middle-class dream.
For Europe to be seen as relevant to these people, they have to address their concerns.
The EU's social and political upheaval was magnified by the arrival of 1 million new migrants and asylum seekers, most of whom are Muslims. It brought a sense among many Europeans that they have become a minority in their own country, says Gedmin.
But it's a trigger for people thinking about nationality, patriotism, identity, social cohesion, security, external relations with other countries and the United States, and now it all comes crashing in.
Development of the EU has largely been driven by Germany, France, and Britain. French and German leadership was essential to establishing the common European currency, the euro. France and the United Kingdom were key in forging common EU foreign and security policies. Post-World War II Europe also received steadfast U.S. support. But times are changing in that regard too, says Sabo. Issues of sharing burdens and responsibilities among the transatlantic partners grew more prominent under the Trump administration.
It's very hard to see it playing the kind of constructive role it played in Europe over the last 50, 60 years. So it's going to be a very tough issue for the Europeans, and they're going to have to, it's going to be their fate. Their fate's back in their hands.
Most analysts agree Europe will have to learn to ride the storm rather than hide from it. Gela De Franceschi, VOA News, Washington.
Well, I want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we covered during the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. Now, coming up, how an infrastructural project in the Democratic Republic of Congo could boost development across the continent. Stay with us.
This is BizBeat.
A beautiful greenhouse filled with edible greens of lettuce, Swiss chard, and even tomato. And next door, fish farming. And all of this being done with very little water. All of it being produced through aquaponics, a system that combines aquaculture, raising fish and seafood, with hydroponics, the cultivation of plants in water. Salah Jaradat is the co-founder of Kodra Farm. He says water comes from a filtration unit filled with nutrients where the plants grow.
The water will go back to the fish area clean and healthy for the fish.
Aquaponic farms like these are invaluable for places like Jordan and other dry countries because they use 90% less water than traditional growing methods. But organic store owner Bashar Humayed, who does buy products from Kodra Farm, says customers do need to be educated on the product.
It is almost like organic.
For VOA's BizBeat, I'm Philip Alexio.
Well, in a special update, Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Madu joins us now with some shocking but positive news.
Good news indeed for many. Authorities in the self-declared Republic of Somaliland have issued a religious fatwa, an Islamic legal pronouncement banning the practice of female genital mutilation. The fatwa was issued Tuesday by the Ministry of Religious Affairs, coinciding with the International Day of Zero Tolerance for Female Genital Mutilation. It vows to punish violators and allows victims of FGM to receive compensation. It does not, however, elaborate on the kind of punishment and the severity the violators will get. FGM involves all procedures that alter or harm the female genitalia for non-medical reasons. The World Health Organization says cutting, often performed on girls 15 and younger, can result in bleeding, infection problems with urination, and complications with childbearing. Somalia is among the countries in which FGM is most prevalent. According to the World Health Organization, an estimated 98% of Somali females ages 15 to 49 have undergone female genital mutilation. Advocates against the practice are applauding the move, and we will have more on the story in our health report tomorrow. And if you would like to share your thoughts on the subject of female genital cutting or have questions for our experts on FGM, send me a tweet at Linor Mudu. Vincent, back to you.
Well, thanks a lot, Lino. Now, be sure to watch Lino Mudu's regular health reports every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. Well, at a price tag of a whopping $80 billion, the Grand Inga Dam project in the Democratic Republic of Congo is arguably one of the largest infrastructure developments on the continent. Once completed, proponents say the dam will develop a power grid that will spur Africa's industrial economic development. Africa 54's Paul Ndio reports.
The African continent faces a huge energy deficit that has contributed to the slow economic development. But with these challenges, there are great opportunities. There is a huge potential for producing all forms of energy, including hydropower, natural gas, solar, and wind energy. For example,
when you talk about Power Africa, this is an example of a multi-billion-dollar project that is taking place here in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
The Grand Inga Dam on the Congo River has tremendous hydropower potential to light Africa and beyond. It's estimated that Inga Dam will produce over 40,000 megawatts of electricity, more than a third of the total electricity currently produced on the continent, and twice as much as the power generation of the three gorgeous dams in China. In the 1970s and 1980s, the former president Mobutu Sese Seko oversaw the construction of Inga 1 and Inga 2 dams, but most of the electricity produced at the time was for domestic consumption. Today, the Congolese government says it aims to avoid repeating past mistakes. It wants to make sure that the Inga project can be a viable business.
The cost estimate at this point is $80 billion. Can you imagine what $80 billion can do? Well,
their aim is to export this hydroelectric energy beyond its borders. Grand Inga foresees a massive expansion of hydroelectric generating capacity, reaching a total output of close to 50,000 megawatts, with transmission lines carrying electricity as far as South Africa.
And Zimbabwe and South Africa are together. We are the grid connected between these three countries.
If fully completed, Inga Dam would be the world's largest hydroelectric plant. At a price tag of $80 billion, concerns are growing that foreign companies will gain vast economic benefits from this mega project, taking attention away from the development needs of the Congolese people. Furthermore, corruption is prevalent in the DRC, and huge infrastructure projects like this one is prone to corruption. In 2014, the World Bank Board approved a $73.1 million grant to support the technical aspect of Inga 3. But in 2016, the bank cancelled its support to the project, citing corruption. Other stakeholders, including the African Development Bank and the European Investment Bank, have expressed similar concerns. Large dam projects like Inga are widely attacked by environmentalists for their impact on the river flow, which affects habitat and concerns that more than half of the Congolese population has no access to electricity. And yet, the continent's biggest infrastructure investment would all be for export and the mining industries, far away, especially in the Katanga province.
Paul Ndiho, VOA News, the Grand Inga Dam in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Well, thanks, Paul. It's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. SpaceX launches an earth-shaking adventure. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Africa 54, and here's what's trending. It's another successful South African-born American billionaire Elon Musk and his team of rocket scientists. Two of the three booster rockets SpaceX used in Tuesday's launch made a flawless landing back on Earth, but the third one crashed into the sea. The 15-story boosters landed at Cape Canaveral, Florida, at the same time, side by side. Ensuring its boosters can return smoothly from their flights is a key new proof of concept regarding Elon Musk's vision of reusable space flight. Meanwhile, Musk's other company, Tesla, is getting some love. The red Roadster launched into space on top of the Falcon Heavy, cruised through space for about 6 hours. It's currently in an orbit between Mars and Jupiter. Well, next up, a Japanese mobile game is a big hit in China with over 3 million downloads a day. The game features a frog that travels across Japan. Players can grow and collect clovers in the frog's garden. The frog sends back holiday snaps. Upon returning home, the frog brings back local delicacies and handicrafts. The player has a limited role in this game, just waiting for their frog to start a journey and return home. Developers say they are busy with adding new tourist destinations in the game and considering to add some Chinese scenic spots. Well, and finally, it's Carnival season in Rio de Janeiro, and fashion fairs selling costumes and accessories are booming. Street parties and carnival balls are getting increasingly popular, and everyone wants to look the part. The hot trend is original costumes. Many are homemade, but a new industry is growing, catering to the mostly millennial crowd that take part in these exclusive parade groups. Fashion fairs like Saturnalia are places where costume designers can show off their wares. Illuminated costumes are big this year because nothing says carnival fashion like flashing LED eyelashes, and that's what is trending today. Just days after the announcement that the 4,400-year-old tomb of a high-ranking priestess had been found in Egypt, comes word of an even older discovery in the country from about 100 million years ago. Viewers Faith Lapidus tells us about the new species of dinosaur found in the western Egyptian desert.
During the late Mesozoic period, this long-necked grazer wandered through what was then a coastal jungle. That's not what it was in 2013, when Dr. Hasham Salam and his team of graduate students began surveying the area.
So I told them to spread out so we can cover as much space as possible. And we found one of the team members started calling her colleagues, saying, "I found a lot of bones." She even called me on the phone because I was about 2 kilometers away from her. And she told me, "Doctor, there are a lot of bones. Come and see them." So I went, and I saw that it was a partial skeleton of a dinosaur. That, for us, was a very big thing.
The team carefully excavated the jawbones, leg bones, and other fossils and brought them to Mansour University's Vertebrate Paleontology Center. The partial skeleton suggests the dinosaur's anatomy was similar to European giants of the same period, which counters theories that African dinosaurs were completely isolated during the late Mesozoic. Researchers hope more finds wait under the sand.
We know that for sure that these dinosaurs, of course, have something that eats them. As in any ecosystem, if we went to the jungle, we will find a lion and a giraffe. So we found the giraffe. Where's the lion? That is what we are going to look for now.
The giraffe has been named Mansoursaurus shahine, after the team's university and one of the paleontology department's founders. I'm Faith Lapidus, VOA News.
Well, that's our show for today, and I'll be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com for more news. Tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa, 20300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching from all of us in Washington. Have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. Today's episode won't cost you anything.
Freebie.
Let's see what this one is about.
Anna, I love my job.
Oh yeah? Why is that?
I get so many freebies from the bands I write about. CDs, t-shirts, water bottles, even tickets to see them perform.
Wow. The only freebie I ever got from my